if your ideal, like real ideal person is going to love and be attracted to you as you are, your authentic self, but you are not being your authentic self to fit into all of these other spaces that aren't right for you, how are they going to find you? It's already hard to find a person.
Yeah. They're looking for that thing. They're looking for that person.
And you're hiding it.
Yeah. So.
Welcome to the Limitless Tribe, where two badass women build businesses, chase dreams, and keep it way too real. I'm Kat.
And I'm Mel. We're the founders of Powerhouse Admins and the Limitless Tribe, and we're inviting you into the messy middle, the mindset shifts, and the CEO glow-ups you never see coming.
Now let's get into it.
Okay, today we're going to talk about two things that women really struggle with. First, it's shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that aren't yours to shrink into. And self-love, right? So we're taught how to love others and how to do for other people, how to make sure we anticipate other people's needs, we check on everyone else. We're taught how to be daughters, partners, mothers, sisters, but we're not taught to love ourselves and to be our own protectors. We're kind of taught that we're supposed to put ourselves last, right? And it feels like a really noble thing, but it actually is pretty toxic. And it sets you up to be unhappy, which if you're unhappy, you're not putting out the best energy out into the world. So it's really not a good way to be. When we shrink ourselves to fit into somebody else's capacity, you abandon yourself, right? So you're a certain version, a certain way, and in order to fit into what you think this person needs, you're changing who you actually are. And then your first responsibility in life is actually to yourself. It's not to anybody else. It's not any of these other roles that you have. Those are secondary to the role you have with yourself, right? And today we're going to be talking about not being done with dimming yourself, with shrinking yourself, with minimizing, with apologizing, and really
These are all the things that I work on every day.
And with stepping into like really radical self-love as a job, not a feeling. And by radical, it's really just normal. But I feel like because we don't all have it, it feels like a radical thing to go that extreme. But really, it's just normal self-love that we're supposed to have, like naturally.
Yeah. And what's funny when you were saying all of that, I'm like, I don't know about you, but in my household growing up, Hispanic, old school Cuban household, I was, the daughter, and I feel like the only daughter. So I feel like that usually like the eldest daughter or the only daughter takes on a lot of responsibility after the mother. And my brother's 4 years older than me, yet I would be told, and I'm younger than him, I would be told, oh, when you wake up, you have to clean this, do this, and make your brother lunch. Make my brother lunch? Like, what do you mean? So every day, like when we were home for the summer, I would have to do all the cleaning. My parents would be working, so I would wake up and I'd have to clean the house. I'd have to iron my dad's collared shirts with starch because he liked starch on his shirts, and my mom hated ironing them, so I would iron his shirts with starch, make sure that they were nicely ironed. I would have to take care of my brother's lunch, make sure, and I'm like...
It's like they're molding you so that you could prepare to be somebody else's caretaker.
Right? And
that's
all,
that's
all I can't do anything else. I would have to take, so then I feel like the more that they put this on you, that's how I grew up, so then I just got accustomed to taking care of people. And then the more I took care of people, the less I took care of me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everything that you're saying is like stuff that I've been trying to like fix
I didn't
for decades.
That household because it was just me and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And even though my mom is way older than most of my friends' parents, like she's going to be 80 in January, she's
very progressive.
Yes, she's the most feminist of all of the moms. So although she's very traditional in how when she was married, she would do these things, but she never...
expected you to do them.
I never had to do that for anybody.
That's so funny.
And I didn't have those things, but I think for me it was more about energies. So reading the room to like, some people were more explosive. Like things would piss them off a lot faster. So it was about like reading the room and adapting and like making sure you don't upset them or you don't piss them off. So then when I'm in a room, it's more like reading it and then like how do I adapt to it versus just being myself and then you walk in the room,
Oh yeah, I grew up with that too though. So I get that.
Yeah, like it's like
Yeah.
eggshells a little bit.
Yeah, we couldn't like move and don't say this and don't say that and don't speak about this and kind of, you know, just agree.
Yeah.
Just shake your head yes to whatever.
What's the thing that they're like, kids are meant to be seen and not heard? Have you seen the trend on Instagram where the parents are asking the kids to finish like the old school sayings?
Oh no.
It's so cute and healing. I highly recommend.
I need to see this. I need to watch this.
It's like, oh, kids are meant to be seen, and then you finish it.
Yeah, so I'm
and
supposed to say
loved.
not heard, but they say and
They're
loved.
like they'll say like pretty things, like
Aw.
really like they don't have
They're not
those.
growing up with that.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it was really nice, and a bunch of things, and like some things are like, and they just make up something funny, but
Because they've never heard this stuff.
yeah,
Oh,
but
I
it's
like
never
that.
like the negative or the way that we heard them, and it's really cute.
That is cute.
I have to send it to you when I see them.
Yeah, so I do. I'm still working through all of this. So when, you know, women, I feel like we hear it constantly, right? We're too emotional, we're too loud, we're too driven. So we start shrinking to become more lovable. Society really rewards women for being agreeable, digestible, like what I was saying, right? When growing up, oh, sit here, don't speak, just agree with whatever's being said. Don't have an opinion because God forbid you have an opinion and it's not what the majority
masses, yeah.
is agreeing with, and you're the outcast, so then they look down upon you. So there was a metaphor that I think you sent me recently that said, you know, let's say you're 28 ounces, I'm going to say of rosé. I'm pretty and pink. So you're 128 ounces of rosé, but your partner's capacity is only to hold 80 ounces. So if you want to fit, you're going to pour out of yourself and make yourself less to fit into their cup, right? But why do you need to do that?
And usually the small cup might make you feel bad for being 128 ounces, right?
Yeah.
Instead of the cup thinking, oh, maybe
Yeah.
I could grow. And
Exactly, and hold more. So you're shrinking, you're letting out of yourself in order to fit this capacity of that someone else can only hold. When in reality, overflowing doesn't mean that you're too much. It just means that they're not enough. They can't hold you. They're not meant for you. You are meant to just take up more space, and that's okay. So that person's capacity is not your responsibility. You are not too much. You're just too much for them. And that's where you need to learn that this is not your person. This is not the space that you need to be in. This is not the environment you need to be in. And you do not need to shrink to be tolerated. You should just be who you are.
And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the container either, right? Because there's somebody else who fits right into that.
Yes.
But it's not you, and that doesn't make anything wrong with you either, right? Usually it's made to be like we're the problem. I don't know if, and I think this stuff goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have seen the Barbie movie, but there's
So cute.
yeah, it's a great movie. But there's quote in there by
America Ferrera. I cried my eyes out.
and that explains it, like, because it's about like all the too muches, right? But then there's also like not enough. You didn't do this enough, and you need to be like this perfect like
Yeah.
mother, housewife, but also you need to be driven at the same time, but not too much, and like
Yeah, you can't be too driven at work, but you need to be driven enough. And
Yeah.
you need to love your kids, but you can't be overbearing with them and love them too much. So it's like when
you're gonna fail.
you never,
regardless.
there's no winning.
So just be yourself and be really comfortable with who that is, and that's the best. That's the right version. Whoever accepts or doesn't accept, that's on them, right?
Yeah.
So when you have these situations and the person can't meet you emotionally, I feel like as women, like we immediately feel like we are the problem, and you start minimizing, right? You start doing less. You start removing parts of yourself, of your personality, of your interests to fit into the box that you feel like is your only option or your only box. Like it has to be this one. Or sometimes people try to make the container, like force it to be bigger than it is. And that's not a thing that can be forced. And it's not right for them either, right? Maybe that's where they want to stay. And if they want to grow, it has to come from them.
Yes.
They have to
Yeah.
want to expand, And that can happen. They want to expand to meet you, right? But
Yeah, I feel like we spend a lot of time as women trying to change people.
yes, that's very rare, and you would see it right away.
Yeah.
It's not a thing you would be waiting and waiting and waiting, hoping that they're going to do that, right? It would be an immediately noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
So usually we think our options are just to minimize or to make this container bigger. But we also have the option of realizing that this isn't the right person, container, space, job, friend group for us, and that there's a better space out there and going out to look for that. And it's scary to do that, especially if you're you're kind of happy with what you have, but it's not for you. You need to let go of that and have nothing with the hopes that you're going to find something better.
Yeah.
And that can be scary because you never know if you really are, but usually you do, right? Yeah. You just have to put yourself out there again and be open to finding that, but let go of what's not serving you so that there's room for that more to come in.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we get nervous that this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, there's not going to be anything else. There's not going to be anyone else. There's not going to be any more friends. There's not going to be any more partners. So we kind of get stuck and we just make ourselves smaller instead of realizing we can let this go and something else is, nothing is the same forever.
Yeah.
So there will be something else out there.
Yes. So a lot of times women are going to choose to lose themselves instead of changing that container. And that's never the right option. You can't force someone to make that change, but also you shouldn't be forcing you to fit into something that isn't for you. So a power line that you can use is stop reducing your magic to fit into someone who's refusing to evolve. That too muchness is the magic. It's like the specialness. It's the stuff that not everybody has.
Yeah. And that's what's special about you. That the next person who comes along or the next friend group or whatever it is, that's what they're gonna find endearing, and that's what's gonna draw them to you is you being more.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. At birth, you're assigned one human. So we're gonna talk a little bit about self-love. At birth, you're assigned a human, and that one human is you, right? We come along, and your lifelong job is to protect and nurture and love that one human, which is yourself. But as we get older and as we go through different things in life, and as we're raised and, in different situations, either our parents telling us do this, do that, or, make sure everyone else is okay, we really determine our self-worth based on other people in those relationships instead of really caring about our own self-worth. So we tend to put ourselves in positions where we're loving other people more than we're loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? And that you lose that responsibility to you. And that's where you really forget to take care of yourself and you start taking care of everyone else. You don't set those boundaries. You don't check in with yourself. You lose it. You just lose your love for yourself. And that's really what makes the whole thing sad and just makes you not enough anymore. That's where you start feeling like, oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, and now I have to make myself less for everyone else.
And we talked about the gut on another episode. So with all that stuff, all these other people coming into the mix, and you worried about all of these other people's feelings and what's right for them, you completely disconnect with yourself. Yeah. And even when you try to go back and reconnect, it feels like you can't even hear yourself. You're not even sure what you do want to do.
Yeah, because you're so worried about, making sure this person's okay and that person, and they don't like this and they want me to do this. So you lose yourself in that, and then you lose your intuition, like that gut, that's I feel like that's a woman power that we have, is our intuition and our listening to our gut, but we definitely lose that along the way.
Yeah. I'm very about trying to. And I think it's a thing with age, right? When you get a little bit older, that's why they say you give less fucks. Yeah. Because although we're still young and we're not, at the age where you're winding down, but I feel like the days become more important. Yeah. So now I feel like I want to do the stuff that I really want to do. Even if that's sitting on the couch and watching TV, it needs to be a hell yes. I don't want to do the stuff that I'm supposed to do. I don't want to do the stuff that people expect me to do or that I'm should do. I just really want to do what I want to do. And that is how I've been feeling like in my 40s.
Yeah, I feel like you're further along than I am. We're both still working at it, but I feel like I'm still a little bit further behind than you because I do tend to still care more about what other people want to do and kind of please them instead. But that is something that I'm trying to catch up with you on, is doing just what makes me happy.
I think
and
you
not,
have more people.
Yeah,
and
that makes it a little harder.
Yeah, like my family is not that big, and we're not as connected.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like so much obligation. So like the people that I have around me, generally, with few exceptions, I really love. So if they want to do something, I want to do it. Even if it's something I wasn't thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm down to do that. There's certain things I might be like, I'm down to do whatever else, but that one I don't really want to do.
Yeah.
But I know it's a friendship that isn't going to think anything different if I don't want to do one particular thing.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know. I just feel like I feel like the time is limited.
It is. It is. And we talk about this all the time. Kathy's like, we have this life right now. Like, we have to just do what we want to do because we don't know how much time we have left. I'm like, okay, I'm working on it. I am. Because so many times I've said yes to things that I don't want to do, but I say yes because I feel out of obligation instead of just saying yes from the gut. So that is something that I've been, slowly working on, but just saying yes to more things that I really want to do and still really working on not having to have an excuse for not.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I need to come up with something usually. But even with the obligation piece, sometimes even when you're throwing the party, you're inviting people out of obligation.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
I usually think if I go or don't go, it's probably not going to be a deal breaker.
Yeah, that is true.
But what does shrinking look like, right? When we're minimizing ourselves, like Mel mentioned, it's ignoring your intuition, it's ignoring your gut, it's making excuses for bad behavior, right? Because you don't want to admit that this isn't the right spot for you. So instead of saying like this isn't the right space, that reaction to this situation wasn't right, we start making excuses like, oh, maybe I was too much, or maybe I was too intense, or I was too emotional, or that was too soon, or we just start to make all these excuses to make it our fault. Mm-hmm. And then we're downplaying success so others feel comfortable. We're downplaying love sometimes so that others feel comfortable, apologizing for having needs or for asking for anything or everything. And apologizing, I'm trying to get better at too. I think I've improved, but I'm trying to catch myself to not say that.
Yeah, I'm the same. I say a lot of, I apologize a lot for things that I should not apologize for because it's just me. This is me.
It's very annoying, so I'm trying to work on it. But so we accept crumbs, right? So this is another thing I see a lot, especially with relationships. Sometimes we care about somebody so much, which is always the wrong person, that we are scared to leave them, and we will take anything that they give us. They will take whatever crumbs that they give us. It's the bare minimum. We're hoping for this, and they're giving us this, and we're excusing and making adjustments and saying why this is enough and this is okay. And like I said, it's usually not the right person, because the person that is right for you, you wouldn't have to minimize or change for at all. They're going, like you said, endearing. They're going to love all the stuff about you. There's things that they might not love, but it's not going to be anything that they can't see or a deal breaker, right? And sometimes those people that give out the crumbs make you feel like you're just so lucky to have these crumbs from me. Mm-hmm. Because if I didn't give you these crumbs, you wouldn't be able to get anything anywhere else.
Yeah, we were talking about this right before this, we came on, about, different stories or things that have happened in our life. And I was telling Cathy how my ex, who, I don't have a lot of long-term exes, so I speak about the same ones. So my daughter's father, married guy, my current husband, this is where I'm at. Married guy, let's go there. There were points in our relationship where I would be like, I deserve better. I need to get out of this, and I want a real relationship, and I think I'm ready for something real and all this stuff. And I would say this to him, like, I think we need to stop seeing each other, and I'm gonna go see if I could find somebody, because I was very honest, like I'm gonna go see if I can find someone that will actually like isn't married and we can actually have a real relationship. And he would make me feel like I was never gonna find anything better. Like it would be like a guilt trip, and then it would be like, oh, you know, he's amazing, and who am I gonna find that's as amazing as him? Yet all I'm getting is crumbs because he's married and he's in a whole other relationship.
And thank God you didn't find anybody like him.
I know. And at the time, then I would be like, oh my goodness, how about if he's right? Like, I'm not going to find anyone else and no one's going to love me because I'm not that lovable, and maybe, you know. So then I would stay, and then you look back now and what was wrong with me? But yeah, I just shrunk myself to fit into his container because, you know, that's all I thought I was worth at the time. And then he would, you know, make me feel like that's all I was worth as well, and, you know, feed me these little crumbs. So, not good.
I have a friend who, she, between relationships, she always feels that way, like, who's gonna love me? Like, she feels like there's so few people that she can't lose these people that she has, which are not her people. Mm-hmm. And she's like, she has kids, and she's like, who's gonna love me with kids? I'm like, I never had a problem with anybody liking me with kids. And if you're a woman out there and you've ever been on the apps, you know if you put yourself out there and you like whatever you like, you're going to get hundreds of replies back or interests or matches, right? Guys don't. They get like a third of that, and I think half of that is all the bots.
That's true.
They don't get as many. So I think that's like a scare tactic, because if anything, women can find somebody else. There's plenty out there. There's lots of options. Yes, sometimes it's not as easy to find. It's like a needle in a haystack, but it's not because of you. It's because a lot of these people might not fit what you're looking for, and you stick to your boundaries. But there's plenty of options out there. No matter who you are, what you look like, we have plenty of options. With kids, I love the stories where somebody came in to somebody's life with one or two little kids, and they became like the most awesome stepdad.
Yeah,
and they are raising them, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So like the person that loves you is going to love you with your whole package, everything that you have to bring.
Yeah, I feel like that way too. Like I would worry about, okay, well, I live with my mom, and like, you know, who's gonna want to do that, and then like, oh, my daughter, and then so it was just a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
So it wasn't easy.
I remember with my husband, because mine is the same situation. I have my mom. She has grandma too, but I have my mom and my daughter and a cat, right? And he's allergic. So I'm like, are you sure you want to move in? There's 3 people here. He's like used to being alone, doesn't have, like, just always lived by himself, doesn't have kids. And I asked so many times, I'm like, are you sure you're okay with moving in with mother-in-law and older daughter? And he deals with the cat that he's allergic to. So the person that really wants to be with you is not going to have any problems with whatever you bring. All that stuff that you're like, are you sure? But what about this? But what about this? They're not going to care.
It's very true, because they love you, and that's all that matters.
And that's what you need to hold out for.
Yes.
Don't stay loyal to somebody that isn't loyal to you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You can set standards, and you need to honor them. So I feel like just in those things, right? We make ourselves smaller. We put our standards away. We close down our boundaries, break them, say, oh, okay, I'm going to shrink to fit this other person. Yep, just trying to make it work however you can. Instead of honoring your boundaries, honoring your standards, like that's what makes you special. And that person is going to come along, like you said, your husband, right? You asked him 1,000,000 times, are you sure this is the situation? Like, you have an out, and I will understand. I did the same thing with Paul. I was like, are you sure? Like, you're not used to this. This is a lot. Like, I need to know. And you know what?
He loves us.
Yeah, and he loves us all. And, you know, he takes care of everyone, and it's so, I don't know, it's refreshing to see, because I feel like for so long I was so like worried about that, and now that I'm here, I'm like, why was I so worried about this? Why did I shrink myself so much? Why did I make myself less, you know? So when you are trying to fit into someone else's capacity, just walk away. That's not what you're there for. You need to choose yourself. You need to choose your peace. You need to choose peace over chemistry, because the chemistry, it will fade if it's not right, right? It might be fireworks in the beginning and wonderful, and you might be like, this is amazing. But if you're making yourself smaller each time just to make this person love you and to make this person want you, those fireworks are going to fade. That chemistry is going to fade, and what are you going to be left with? You're going to be sad and
Anxiety.
and unhappy. Exactly. lots of anxiety.
I feel like the fireworks, it's usually more of a physical thing, and it is usually more in the beginning. I feel like that right person actually feels like calm.
Yeah.
Like your nervous system is like
I can
relaxed,
attest to
and
that.
like you don't have to be you don't have to act or be any kind of way. You can just be.
You don't have to be on.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you're like on stage, like role playing or something all the time.
Yeah.
And when in reality you just need, like you said, just be. When you're just like relaxed and calm, that's like the perfect relationship to be in. I feel like that's when you're like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
This isn't fake, and I'm not pretending to be anything else. So treat yourself with the loyalty you give others, and I think that's so important. We always speak about, or we've always talked about in other episodes, how would you speak to someone else, right? Like, how would you speak to a friend in this situation, or how would you speak to your child in this situation? So speak to yourself like that. Like, how would, if your daughter or best friend were in a relationship with someone and they're shrinking themselves to be in this relationship, like, what would you tell them? Would you be like, oh yeah, that's great, like, go ahead, make yourself tiny, like, so that they'll love you? No, you're gonna tell them, why are you doing that? Like, you are amazing and you're wonderful, your personality is great, you're gonna find someone that loves that. So speak to yourself the way you would speak to those people, and that's when you're really gonna, find that self-love and your consistency and all that. So I do recommend that. I think you had mentioned that in one of the previous episodes, was like, how would you speak to your best friend?
Yeah.
And it's really sat with me ever since then, because it's true. It's like, I wouldn't speak to you and tell you to make yourself smaller for anyone. I wouldn't say that to my daughter. And I think that's such an important thing, that when you really think about that and you play it in your mind and you go, well, what would I tell someone else? I wouldn't be here then.
Yeah, and that's more probably your true self, because that's who the advice that you're giving, know, versus you trying to fit everybody else in.
Yep. So self-love isn't a vibe, it's consistency. And there's a really nice affirmation that says, I am not responsible for shrinking to fit someone else's world. I am responsible for loving the human that I am. And like we said a little while ago, we came into this world with just ourselves, right? And we came in to love the human that we are, and we need to give ourselves that love and that grace and that patience and that understanding that we would give to others, to us, because no one else is really going to give it to us. That's our responsibility. And
you radiate it. So like, if you give that stuff to yourself first, you're gonna automatically radiate that energy and the good vibes. And if you give it to yourself, first of all, that all your needs are met because you can give it to yourself. And then I feel like it sets the expectation for, like, when you meet other people, what they need to do, like how they need to treat you. Because I think as I was older and I was single for a while before my husband, life was really good and I liked how I was doing things and I felt pretty peace, and so if I date someone, you need to maintain this or make it better. Mm-hmm. So like, you set the standards for how you want to be treated.
Yeah, if I'm feeling now, if I've been okay and I feel good and now I'm with you and you're giving me anxiety, you're not the one. Yeah.
Not messing this. I worked really hard for this, not messing it up.
I think what you said about radiating that energy, that stands out too, because I feel like when you're unhappy, right? So now you're shrinking yourself to be in someone else's presence and you're unhappy because this isn't your authentic self, right? Yeah. So you're not feeling great, you're down, you're like, oh, is this my person? Why am I doing this? You attract negativity because you're not in a great place. You're attracting negative vibes and negative attention and negative stuff to you. But when you're radiating that positivity, so many good things come in your life. And I can definitely attest to that too. Yes. Like, the more that you vibrate and feel that, like, love and happiness, and it doesn't have to be with a person, just with yourself, right? This is with you. I
think that's the power.
Yeah, the power is that it's with you.
Yeah, you can fulfill all your stuff, so you're not looking for anybody to do anything for you. It's more like a companionship, like
Yes.
a different experience.
Exactly. So when like you leave that relationship that was making you shrink to fit into, you know, whatever their needs are, and now you're radiating higher and you're vibing and you're like, oh, this is my authentic self and I'm being true to myself, you attract that as well. And that's when the good stuff is going to come into your life.
Yes. And think of it like, if your ideal, like real ideal person is going to love and be attracted to you as you are, your authentic self, but you are not being your authentic self to fit into all of these other spaces that aren't right for you, how are they going to find you? It's already hard to find a person.
They're looking for that thing. They're looking for that
and you're
person.
hiding it.
And
You're hiding it.
Yeah. So, you know, you're like invisible to them.
Yes.
That's very true.
So, and then the other thing I want to say before continuing is I think a lot of times people in relationships hide stuff from friends and family because they innately know that it's not good.
Yeah.
And then they hide it so that nobody has to like address it with them or bring it up. So if you see that you have to hide stuff about your relationship, like with your closest friends or family or whoever it is, like there's probably something either wrong
Yeah.
or that's just not fitting with you.
Because you have to hide a whole marriage. You're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't be in that relationship,
Yeah, so that
right?
should tell you that, you know, it's not that you have to go and share everything, but if it specifically feels like you can't,
Yeah.
then, and you can still choose not to, but if you feel like you can't, then there's probably a reason why you don't feel comfortable
Yeah,
sharing
that. That's true.
So someone can care for you and they can love you even, but just not be your right person or have the capacity to hold every part of you, right? And sometimes people have a hard time letting go of that too, right? They want to keep you, but they're not in the space where they can, you know, be there fully for you in the way that you need. And emotional potential does not mean emotional availability. So do not fall in love with potential. The potential would be bonus. If that happens, bonus. But you have to love the person for who they are at that moment because they may never change from there.
And most likely if things aren't exactly right and they're off, you can't change anybody. They have to want to change.
Yes.
That's just
the little things that you don't like, they need to be like little things that you can live with, not things you're trying to change.
Yeah.
Little quirks, not, you know, big
Yeah,
stuff.
like maybe they wear two different socks and they think that's cute. Okay. But if it's something major, that's not changing. It's going to stay the same and you're going to be unhappy.
Yeah, so don't date for change because that doesn't usually happen. Date them for who they are today, and if they don't fit into that, then that's okay. Maybe if they change in the future, maybe that becomes a thing, but I wouldn't wait on that. It would just be something that happens.
Do you think men don't do that, right? That they
change.
they know that they date someone and expecting to change that person. I feel like they just break up with you and they're like, this isn't right. But for some reason, I feel like women think that they can change somebody. I know I did. I thought I could change a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to think of like the guys. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if they think that way, but I think usually men are a little bit simpler.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they don't need a lot, or they don't have a lot of things. We're very complex.
We are.
I don't know, they don't really have a lot of things that they, I think, would change. And yeah, I do think they probably just break up with the person.
Yeah,
Or actually, I think I got it. Not all guys.
Some.
Not all. I have a lot of theories, right? They're not backed by science. Okay.
But they're usually really good.
So, you know what I've noticed with guys? They sometimes have a harder time being alone.
Yes.
So they usually jump to the next person. And they don't usually leave their person until they found another. Not all, but like I've seen it a lot. And they do stay with the person, even if it's not a right fit sometimes. But I think those are the situations when they drag you along. You know, like when you're in a relationship for like 7 years and they're still not ready to
get
commit,
married.
like,
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. If it's 7 years and you don't feel it, unless you're really young, like you started at 15, I don't think it takes that long. Like, you would know. So they're just kind of holding off on just to have somebody there, but they're not really fully invested. So they may or may not be trying to change you, but I feel also like they're not giving you all of them.
Yeah.
They're always looking out to see the next thing or the next person, and they're just not really like, you know,
Yeah.
or
They're
people
just-
that are just not available very often. They
Mhm.
just give you bare minimum, you know, like
Yeah.
they just give you a little bit.
Just complacent.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's what happens. They just kind of leave it there until
Yeah. I feel like women are more like they're gonna change the
yeah,
person.
and we're trying to fix it, which then causes other problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so you wanna, you know, compatibility is based on a lot of different things, but it's also gonna have something to do with capacity. Like, they need to be in the space today to be able to handle you, right? And to be at your same emotional space and just life in general, where you kind of are with life, right? So the right person is gonna expand your life. They're not gonna dim it. They're not gonna ask you to be less. They're going to want to highlight those special things about you because that's part of what they fell in love with. So think about when you're with somebody, does this person have the capacity to hold me fully? And I do feel like that goes with everything, even friendships, because sometimes people outgrow friendships and they just still keep them around. But in this situation, it would be like, sometimes if you feel like you're like, I feel sometimes like I'm so into so many other things and I want to talk about like the deeper stuff, and a certain friendship might not be for that, you know. So that's where like I need to also adapt to fit into that space. Maybe I need to find more people that are really into talking about all that stuff.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So you were never built to shrink. You have to remember that. Like, you were meant to be you. You were not meant to dim your light. You were given your one self, your one human, and she deserves protection, love, and brightness. So, you know, you were put on this earth the way that you are, and you come with, you know, your characteristics and your personality and all the things that make you you, and those are the things that need to shine, and they need to shine brightly. We shouldn't be shrinking ourselves for people who can't hold us, or making space for you know, people that can't make space for our true selves. We want to make space for people who can hold the space for us. Your light was not the problem. Their container was the problem, and that's like so strong. It's not your light. It's not you. It's their container that just wasn't capable of fitting you. And you know, you just want to make sure that just be you. I feel like, you know, when I started dating Paul, I think I said this before, because I was so used to either shrinking myself or going above and beyond, right? To do all these things to make someone love me, because I needed to like be more, be extra, and do extra things. Like, let me cook for you and clean for you and do this, because that way you're gonna love me, because that's how I was raised, like cooking and cleaning and doing things. That I did that for him too. I was like cooking and cleaning and this and that, and he's like, you don't have to do any of that. Like, you're amazing just the way you are. And I was like, really? Like, me, little old me?
And it's different when you do it because you want to feel like there, but not like in a way that like you feel like it's an exchange for love.
I felt like I was buying his love at that time, right? And then I realized over time, like, now I do things when I want to do them because I want to do them, because they make me happy, and I like to make him happy too. And he also does for me. It's not like a one-way street. He does a lot for me, but I feel like in the beginning it was just me doing things to kind of buy that love, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was used to. So don't dim yourself. Don't go above and beyond for people that are not going to go above and beyond for you. It's, you know, a mutual exchange. So
Yes. I had an ex that was a great guy, and we had a really great relationship. There was a good friendship, but I felt like what you said, like I was always on, and I tried everything to be the best version of a girlfriend that I could be. And I think at that time I told myself that I was doing that for myself. Like, I wanted to make sure that I put out my best version, but
it's exhausting.
It is, and it felt like I needed something to come out of all of this work, and that person never like felt it to really move forward. And I think you have to realize, even when it's good, to make that decision to end something that's good, that was the hardest one for me, because I had to end something that was good in hopes that I could find better.
Yeah.
Knowing that I may not.
Yeah.
But hopes that I could, because it just felt like there was nothing that I could have done better or differently in that relationship, and it still was not enough.
Yeah.
So it's never really, whatever you do is never going to be enough for the wrong person. But when you meet the right person, you don't have to do anything. Like, all of your just basic stuff is enough, and everything else will be bonus and awesome, but not needed in order to love you. Like, nothing is needed in order to love you, honestly. They just do.
Yeah, and I feel like your intuition probably was telling you that, and you were like listening
Yeah.
to your gut, like, okay, this is good, but
Yeah.
it's not right for me.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
And little things like you mentioned about people going above and beyond for you. There was a lot of little scenarios like that I was like, I wouldn't even do that. Like, I would do more for a friend than they're doing for me right now.
Yeah.
Like a friend, just a random friend that needed my help or that needed, something. And it was like, no, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I had to make that decision, and it was very tough. But if you keep yourself in mind, and at that moment, I honestly kept him in mind too, because I felt like I'm not his person.
Yeah.
Because when you are, they'll feel inclined to do more things. Like the whole, if he wanted to, he
Yes.
would, is so true.
Yeah,
So
because they like to see you smile, they like to see you
Yeah.
happy.
So if he's not doing it, he's staying here maybe because he's fine or complacent or waiting for something better. But I feel like I'm holding you back from better and myself. So definitely consider your peace and your self-love and all of that first before you do anything else. And if you like this episode, and if you feel like you can help somebody else, please help us out help us out and share the episode, like it, subscribe. And on our next episode, we're going to be talking about failure and redefining the word as a necessary part of becoming who you're meant to be. This was a big one for me. I'm not an expert yet, but I've had to deal with some that came with some growth. So we're going to be talking about that in the next episode. And until next time, your life, your rules, stay limitless.